All right, we're going to talk about a significant sliver of Joe Biden's farewell address tonight. We're going to talk honestly and frankly about it, like mainstream, fake stream, CIA infiltrated Operation Mockingbird, MK Ultra media won't talk about it, like independent media won't talk about it. But before we get started, some have suggested that no matter how paranoid or conspiracy minded you may be, the government is far more evil and involved with far more injustices against the American people and people throughout the world than you can possibly imagine. More lies, more bloodshed, more warfare, more demolition of the American dollar, the trashing of the dollar to give to the central banking cartel, things that presidents are forbidden to tell. They're forbidden to talk about. They're forbidden to address it in their farewell address. Well, he's going to do the same thing. He's going to sidestep the fact that the centralized banking cartel owns the issuance and value of our currency, which means they own the American people. They own anybody who trades in the reserve currency called the American dollar. They own the military-industrial complex. He's going to invoke Eisenhower's warning against beefing up the military-industrial complex, as Joe Biden himself has beefed up the military-industrial complex. And we're going to get to that when he gets to the military-industrial complex part. So let's just go ahead and dive into this and make some comments along the way.
I'm so proud of how much we've accomplished together for the American people. And I wish the incoming administration success, because I want America to succeed. That's why I've held my...
When a politician, a parasitic politician from Washington's District of Criminals, a lifelong political parasite, tells you that they want America to succeed, you can be rest assured they want the exact opposite.
My duty to ensure a peaceful and orderly transition of power, to ensure we lead by the power of our example.
Thank God, if Americans can't have other things, surely we can have the peaceful transfer of power that will calm our souls and soothe our worries. Just make it a peaceful, even keel, smooth transition of power, please. Anything.
I have no doubt that America is in a position to continue to succeed. That's why my farewell address tonight, I want to warn the country of some things that give me great concern. And this is a dangerous and that's a dangerous concentration of power in the hands of a very few ultra-wealthy people.
He's concerned about the dangerous concentration of power in the hands of a few wealthy people. Now, of course, he's going to be alluding to the technocrats. And of course, it's always dangerous when you centralize power. But can power be more centralized than having a international banking cartel, essentially a foreign entity, private corporation owning the issuance and value of the currency, which represents all the time and labor of every single American who will ever live, who has ever lived, or ever will live? Shouldn't we be addressing that serious concentration of power? But he's not going to. See, without the centralized banking cartel, you can't have war because you can't afford it. You can't have war unless it's on credit, with funny money, with the dishonest fiat currency Ponzi scheme. You can't have it. You can't have the military-industrial complex beefed up like it is. You can't have standing armies on American soil like we do. You can't have certain amendments which authorize Congress to steal the wealth of the tax cattle in America. You can't have any of that. You can't have the political parasites making $174,000 a year as a base income as they trash the rights and reach into the pockets of Americans. You can't have that. So why wouldn't you talk about that massive centralization of power?
The dangerous consequences.
It's because those few who control all that power also control the puppet who's speaking, and the puppet who will be speaking after January 20th.
If their abuse of power is left unchecked. Today, an oligarchy is taking shape in America of extreme wealth, power, and influence that literally threatens our entire democracy.
No duh. What else is new? It's been like that for decades and decades and decades. Who owns the presidents? Give me control. Who was it that said, give me control over a nation's money? And I don't care who makes its laws. I don't care who the president is, the vice president, the congressman, the senators, the governors. It doesn't matter. I own everything.
Our basic rights and freedoms and a fair shot for everyone to get ahead. We see the consequences all across America, and we've seen it before, more than a century ago. But the American people stood up to the robber barons back then and busted the trusts. They didn't punish the wealthy. Just made the wealthy play by the rules everybody else had to.
Stood up to the robber barons? Who's in control of the Fed right now? Who's in control of the IRS? Who's in control of the alphabet soup agencies, the DEA, the FBI, the CIA? Who's in control of all that, Joe? The robber barons. The robber barons.
Workers want rights to earn their fair share. You know, they were dealt into the deal, and it helped put us on a path to building the largest middle class, the most prosperous century any nation in the world has ever seen. We've got to do that again. In the last 4 years, that is exactly what we've done. People should be able to make as much as they can. But
have you seen egg prices lately? Have you seen meat prices and chicken prices? Have you seen that lately?
Play by the same rules. Pay their fair share of taxes. So much is at stake. Right now, the existential threat of climate change has never been clearer. Just look across the country, from California to North Carolina. That's why I signed the most significant climate and clean energy law ever in the history of the world, and the rest of the world is trying to model it now. It's working.
Signing stuff like that, you know what it equals. Anytime there's another law, it takes money, it takes time and resources to uphold that law, to keep that law going, to enforce that law. And what does that mean? Where does that money? It's a wealth transfer. Anytime you sign something into existence like a law, which is the opinions of politicians backed by the threat of government-sanctioned gun violence, of force, it costs somebody money. So there's a transfer of wealth, a transfer of power from your pocket to their pocket. Oh, there's obviously a problem. It's climate change. Well, what do we need? We need to give politicians that we don't trust in Washington's district of criminals more money so that they can fix a problem that it looks like they created. Problem, reaction, solution. It's the Hegelian dialectic. But Uncle Joe's not going to talk to you about that.
Jobs and industries of the future. Now, we've proven we don't have to choose between protecting the environment and growing the economy. We're doing both. The powerful forces.
Governments don't grow economies. Governments are like parasites. They suck the energy and the life out of economies.
To wield their unchecked influence to eliminate the steps we've taken to tackle the climate crisis, to serve their own interest for power and profit. We must not be bullied into sacrificing the future of our children and our grandchildren. We must keep pushing forward.
We must not be bullied, says the United States government bully.
And push faster. There's no time to waste. It's also clear that American leadership in technology is an unparalleled source of innovation that can transform lives. We see the same dangers of the concentration of technology, power, and wealth. You know, his farewell address, President Eisenhower spoke of the dangers of the military-industrial complex. He warned us then about, and I quote, the potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power, end of quote. 6 decades later, I'm equally concerned about the potential rise.
Why? Why are you concerned? Aren't you concerned about the potential increase and rise in military spending under your administration? In December, he signed, this guy, Joe Biden, signed a record defense budget of $886 billion into law. That represents a massive raise over the previous years. It was approximately $759 billion in 2021, and that was increased to over an additional $127 billion. You want to talk about a rise in misplaced power? The military-industrial complex that Eisenhower warned about, and this guy's given us a warning, Eisenhower warned us about the misplaced power in the military-industrial complex. By the way, CNN and MSLSD and faux news operate as the propaganda arms for the military-industrial complex. But this guy who's trying to warn us about all these oligarchs and this concentration of power, and then reminds us and invokes Eisenhower's warning of the military-industrial complex, this guy is the one who increased the military-industrial complex that Eisenhower warned about, as he reminds us that Eisenhower warned about it. That's how convoluted this whole thing is.
Of a tech-industrial complex that could pose real dangers for our country as well. Americans are being buried under an avalanche of misinformation and disinformation.
And debt. And debt. Most of the misinformation and disinformation comes from intelligence agencies, we find out from the Twitter files and other places. We find out from Zuckerberg that your government, Joe Biden, was out there squashing political discourse, squashing free speech on the internet, muscling one of the biggest guys on the block, Zuckerberg. Now, Zuckerberg needs to take his lumps too, because he could have actually used his platform to say, hey, here's what the U.S. government's doing. Are you guys on board with this? I'm going to keep everything transparent. I'm not going to be an editor. We are just a social media platform. You guys can post whatever you want to. I'm not here to edit. I'm not here to censor. I ain't going to do their bidding. Didn't do it. But according to Zuckerberg, this is the guy right here who sent his goons to go pressure Mark Zuckerberg into silencing speech on the internet. What a nonsensical farewell speech, riddled with holes and inconsistencies and hypocrisies. But is anybody surprised?
Enabling the abuse of power. The free press is crumbling. Editors are disappearing. Social media is giving up on fact-checking. The truth is smothered by lies, told for power and for profit.
Says the president of the kingdom of lies. Truth is treason in the empire of lies. Truth is treasonous to this guy, and now he's getting on national TV pretending like he cares about you being lied to.
We must hold the social platforms accountable to protect our children, our families, and our very democracy from the abuse of power.
Democracy, two wolves and a lamb deciding on what to have for dinner.
Meanwhile, artificial intelligence is the most consequential technology of our time, perhaps of all time. Nothing offers more profound possibilities and risks for our economy and our security, our society, for humanity. Artificial intelligence even has the potential to help us answer might call to end cancer as we know it. But unless safeguards are in place, AI could spawn new threats to our rights, our way of life, to our privacy.
Uncle Joe cares about threats to our rights. Oh, thanks, Uncle Joe. AI is going to be dangerous. How do we know this wasn't generated by AI? We kind of don't at this point. I mean, it's getting better and better. It's harder to tell.
How we work and how we protect our nation. We must make sure AI is safe and trustworthy. And good for...
Kind of like the VAXX, safe and effective. Don't worry, it's safe and effective. Hey, we went ahead and tinkered with this thing that we want you to put in your bloodstream. It's safe and effective. Hey, we messed around with AI. We're from the government. We're here to help. Don't worry, it's safe and effective. You can trust it. Hand all your information over to it. Look in your phone as many times and as many hours a day as you can so that it can study you and read you and duplicate you and copy you and infiltrate your life and infiltrate your brain. Don't worry, it's safe. We're from the government. We fixed everything for you.
All humankind. In the age of AI, it's more important than ever that the people must govern. And as the land of liberty, America, not China, must lead the world in the development of AI.
The people must control. The people must control other people. We have the divine right of kings. We have the right to rule you, and you have the obligation to obey our rulership, or we will punish you.
You know, in the years ahead, it'll help to be, it's going to be up to the president, the presidency, the Congress, the courts, the free press, and the American people to confront these powerful forces. We must reform the tax code, not by giving the biggest tax cuts to billionaires, but by making them begin to pay their fair share.
Why? Why not just eliminate it? Get rid of it altogether. Get that IRS monkey off our backs, Joe. You can do it. In the waning days of your presidency, you could be a hero to all Americans. Just get rid of it. Don't say, no, okay, we're gonna keep a mass extortion in place for the little guys, but we're gonna make the corporations pay their fair share. They never will. Corporations don't exist without the blessing of government. Government needs corporations to work through and operate through so they can do things they can't do out of the halls of Congress. Same with black ops or operations. Government has its hand in everything. They're not going to be making corporations pay their fair share when corporations work hand in glove with the United States government.
We need to get dark money. That's that hidden funding behind too many campaigns contributions. We need to get it out of our politics. We need to enact an 18-year time limit, time and term, for the strongest ethics reforms for our Supreme Court. We need to ban members of Congress from trading stock while they're in the Congress.
Nancy Pelosi's going, Paul, hand me a vodka, will you? I didn't know Joe was going to say that.
We need to amend the Constitution to make clear that no president is immune from crimes that he or she commits while in office.
All presidents are immune from crimes. They can commit legalized mass murder called war and bloodshed and waste trillions of dollars and lie to the American people about North Vietnamese torpedo boats bombing the USS Maddox. We got to go into Vietnam. That's just one example. Operation Northwoods, Operation Mockingbird, MK Ultra, you name it. They are involved in programs that work against the interest of the American people and the national security that they claim to hold dear. So I don't want to go too long on this. I just want to show you the gross hypocrisy and inconsistency of yet another political puppet as he exits office and another puppet seeks to take his place. Leave your thoughts about this for the world and global thought police in the comment section below. Really, no matter how paranoid or conspiracy-minded you may be, what the United States government has done, is doing, and will continue to do is far more evil than you can possibly imagine. I will see you in the next video.